Peace may be this card's name, but all it knows is war. Welcome to True Draco. Hello folks, I'm the Ghost with Knife and welcome back to more Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duel, and as you saw in the intro, today we are playing the notorious True Draco deck. A Monarch style deck using a bunch of spells and traps, as you can see, with a very few select really powerful tribute summon monsters to grind your opponent out of the game, featuring one of the most notorious boss monsters in Yu-Gi-Oh! The recently unbanned Masterpiece, the True Draco Slaying King. If you've never seen this deck, it's pretty simple. All of our monsters can be tribute summoned using continuous spells and traps, which is why we have crammed our deck full of them. We have some Apophis for some negations, Unending Nightmare to get rid of spells and traps, the True Draco cards themselves, and we have all of the spells and traps. We have 2 and 3 copies of roughly each. We have Draconic Diagram to help us tutor out some cards. The most important one would be Masterpiece, which is just the most powerful card in the deck. But before we get to that, we'll talk about the other 3 of in the deck. And the other second best card in the deck, Dynamite Knight. And one cool thing about the smaller True Draco cards is each of them can tutor something. Dynamite Knight gets you the continuous trap, Ignis Heat gives you a continuous spell, and Majesty Maiden gets you a True Draco monster. More importantly, it gets you another copy of Masterpiece if you really, really need it. Outside of a just brutal slew of some of the most heinous floodgates in the game, such as Skill Drain and Summon Limit, we also have some more underrated floodgates and stuff like Power Sink Stone, which is a one of in this deck because I wanted another copy of Skill Drain and Summon Limit. We have 3 Monarchs Erupt, which is incredibly powerful in this deck, and is basically a skill drain that does not require life points, which is very, very powerful. And Lose 1 Turn, which is specifically really good into the Tenpai meta, because this card just ruins Tenpai entirely. Outside of this, we have the star of the show, Masterpiece, the True Draco Slaying King. We're just going to call him Masterpiece or Masterpiece because it's funny. Basically, you tribute 2 things: monsters, continuous spells or continuous traps, and whatever you tribute, he is immune to. So if you tribute a monster and a spell, he is immune to those. If you tribute a spell and trap, he is immune to those. And once per turn during both players' turn, as a quick effect, you can banish a continuous spell or trap from your graveyard and pop a card on the field. He is very hard to deal with and a very powerful card altogether, and really the glue that makes this deck function. So, can the True Draco cards of old with their recently unbanned boss monster deal with the current meta? Let's find out on the ladder and in a little bit of Duelist Cup. Alright, here we are going second, which is a bit weird for us. We really want to go first with this deck and get set up, especially with hands like the double Monarch Shrub. My opponent is going to use Aroma Blend to grab a Humid Wind. It looks like they are on some sort of aroma / plant pile. I'm not quite sure. Here we are on the ladder, just trying to test out how good the deck is and see what it can do. I will say, as my opponent continues to combo off here, I did face quite a few Masochist decks on the ladder, and that did help my climb far too much, which is why I decided to go to the Duelist Cup after I climbed basically back to Diamond. My opponent summons Aromasamer v. Jasmine. They get a card in hand, and we're going to go and try to pot Duality. Our opponent is going to pay 1,000 life points to tutor a card to hand, which is going to be the Aromasamer v. Angelica. It looks like they are on an Aroma deck of sorts. We get Cup of Ace, something else that doesn't matter, and Masterpiece, our big boss monster. We're going to set a Monarch's Erupt and a Power Sink Stone and summon the almighty Masterpiece. Now, I would have loved to have used Ignis Heat in order to make Masterpiece immune to monster effects, but in my current position, the best thing I can do is just get Masterpiece out so we can start popping cards. But yeah, another thing that I don't think I really got a chance to explain in the big deck summary is that all of the continuous spells and traps of the True Draco cards allow you to tribute summon on your turn and your opponent's turn, the spells on your turn give you an extra tribute summon, and the traps give you a tribute summon on your opponent's turn, which does help this deck grind out games if need be, especially because most of the True Draco continuous spells and traps, when they go to the grave, pop a spell or a trap, which is very powerful. We're going to go use Monarch's Erupt here to negate all their effects. We're going to just activate True Draco Apocalypse so I stop having to deal with it. My opponent's going to try to activate effects. We're going to go ahead and use the True Draco Apocalypse to tribute summon Ignis Heat, get rid of their monster, and my opponent, with a Monarch's Erupt and a Masterpiece, staring them down, decides to scoop it up. Alright, here we are getting into our second game here. Our opponent has decided to go second, and if you think to yourself, there's one meta deck that really likes to go second. You're right, we are in fact playing Tenpai. Now I know I don't have a lot of Tenpai replays on most of my videos, especially because it's a slightly newer deck, but mostly because I play casual. But I happen to play Tenpai quite a few times with this deck in particular. Let's go ahead and see the results of that, shall we? We're going to go ahead and set a Power Sink Stone to summon Ignis Heat, and just set the rest of our hand under True Draco. Hope our opponents don't have a Harpy's Feather Duster, as we have Lose One Turn and a Apophis to try to stop their nonsense. I'm going to go ahead and activate Lose One Turn here. If you have never read this card before, it's simple. If you have no special summoned monsters, you can activate it, and anytime a monster is special summoned, it is switched to defense mode, and special summoned monsters have their effects negated the turn they are summoned. So yeah, just a nice little way of slowing our opponents down as they indeed go into Tenpai Dragon Tundra. This annoying card, absolutely. Let's go ahead and put it in defense mode. It gets its abilities negated. My opponent is going to try to Link Summon with Dora into the Striker Dragon. That effect gets negated as well. It's fine. They're basically just trying to get Striker into the grave, so they can go ahead and summon a Bestial. Because they have that, they're going to activate they're going to Link Summon the Heretic Seals and set one face down card. Lose one turn makes it so where they can't activate Seals that turn, but now they can. I'm going to go and use Apophis to try and basically negate the Heretic Seals so I don't have to deal with it. They're going to activate Maxi. I'm going to use the Ignis Heat, and they are going to Ash Blossom this, kind of shutting me down, and from here they're going to be using the Heretic Seals to put something back into my deck. I believe they put Ignis Heat, or they put it back in my hand, which I can just go ahead and tribute summon with Apophis, so I'm not too concerned about that. My opponent then is going to special summon Pydra, and they're going to try to activate the effect, but Lose One Turn says, no, you can't do that. So from here, they're going to get put in defense. I'm going to go ahead and tribute summon Ignis Heat, and I'm just going to attack into Pydra. It's the best thing I can do from this position. We're going to go ahead and set a True King's Return to give me a little bit of recursion. They use their Bestial's effect to summon it. I'm going to try to get a search off of this, and then I get Forbidden Dropleted, ditching their like one-of shifter. Okay, cool. I guess I don't get a search, which isn't like the worst thing with this deck. There's much more important cards to negate, but my opponent just doesn't do that. Lose One Turn is going to go ahead and negate their Bestial back to its effects, and then switch it into defense mode, which doesn't matter yet, but might matter later. My opponent is going to attack into my Ignis Heat with their Magnemite. They're going to try to activate Fadra. We're going to go ahead and activate True King's Return. Now, the thing about Fadra is it's normal summon, so they do get the effect of Fadra here, because Lose One Turn is only special summon monsters, but this Pydra that they summon is going to, in fact, be negated. No. My opponent is going to try and now Link Summon here into an SP Little Knight, which, guess what? That is a special summon monster. And I don't know if you know this by now, but Lose One Turn says special summon monsters don't get their effects the turn they're summoned, so negated. I'm going to go into my turn here, not drawing anything that I can really do, so I'm going to go ahead and activate the Ignis Heat, put it in attack mode. They're going to special summon with Faldra, try to get the Pydra back. It's going to put Pydra back in defense. They do get the ability to, I guess, like, synchro if they can get Chandra here. I'm going to go ahead and pop the SP Little Knight because I just don't want that nonsense here. And I don't really have anything going for me. I don't know how I'm going to win this. My opponent does attack, and they try to Forbidden Droplet my Ignis Heat because apparently Tenpai decks just really, really like Droplet. They're going to go ahead and special summon the Chandra, attacking me. and they're going to try and use the Synchro effect. I'm going to use True King's Return to bring back my Ignis Heat. They're going to use Pydra's effect to try and Synchro Summon, which does actually work. I do believe they saw their mistake here. My opponent is going to go ahead and bring out the Sangenpai Biden Dragon. I'm going to bring back my Ignis Heat, and their Biden Dragon is going to be put in defense mode. I do believe I activated my True King's Return a little bit too early here. If I would have waited until the end phase, I could have gotten Ignis Heat into attack and then destroyed their Biden Dragon. They're going to go ahead and activate Fadra. They're going to Synchro Summon, attempting to get their big boss monster. They do get a Baron, which is kind of nice. They go ahead and Baron here. They try to negate my lose one turn with Baron because they're just sick of it. It does not work though because it is a special summon monster. It goes into defense, and my opponent, in sheer rage over lose one turn, scoops it up. I had no chance of winning this game in my opinion, but you know, whatever. Tenpai players can't read, as you can very clearly find out, and that is how you beat Tenpai, by making them lose one turn over and over and over again. Alright, getting into our next game here. This is a pretty weird hand. I know some people are going, hey, why did you put Cup of Ace in this deck? Because I didn't want to put any other serious card draw, and they got rid of all the good pot cards. So we're using Cup of Ace. I don't want to spend the UR on Upstart Goblin, and I have Cup of Ace. So we're going to go and activate it. Get our 2 cards here. Fantastic. And from here, I'm going to go and use the Dragonic Diagram, which allows me to destroy any card I control or in my hand to add a True Draco or True King card to my deck. I'm going to go ahead and pop the Cup of Ace because I don't want my opponent getting access to more cards. I'm going to go ahead and activate the Pot of Desires, trying to get something else in my hand I can work with. We ditch 2 Dynamite Knights, which is a bit rough, and Apophis. The summon limit that we have, and a Monarch's Erupt. Not the worst Pot of Desires we could have gotten. We're going to go ahead and draw 2. From there, we're going to go ahead and tribute summon the Ignis Heat. And now on my opponent's turn, I can use my True Draco Apocalypse to tribute summon it with that card and Ignis Heat to have a Trap and Monster Effect resistant Masterpiece, which is very, very, very powerful. I have an Apophis for a negate of any face-up card on the field, and a Monarch's Erupt for a just flat-out, full-on, all monster effects except tribute summon monsters are negated. They're going to go ahead and activate the Monarch disrupting the True Draco Apocalypse. What I should have done is, in response to their secret password, used Ignis Heat. This is just an experience with the deck, and then activated my other effects. It is fine from this position, though I'm not too worried about it. They're going to go ahead and grab a Sunny Snitch. They're going to activate Sunny Snitch. I'm going to use the Apophis here, which special summons itself and negates any face-up card your opponent controls up to the number of continuous traps you control until the end of the turn. So if they had more things to negate, I could have, but from here I'm not too worried about it. I just don't want them to try to get the search off. They're going to go ahead and summon a Lilith, using a Sprite Smashers to banish a card as well as their Sprite Carrot. They're going to get rid of my Monarch's Erupt. I'm going to go ahead and use Ignis Heat to grab the True Draco Heritage. My opponent is going to summon the Kisakill and the Lila. I'm going to tribute summon using both my Apophis and my True Draco Apocalypse, the Masterpiece. I could have tributed Ignis Heat here, but I want a little bit more aggro because this deck can be a bit slow to win games. So I'm going to go ahead and tribute the Apophis and the True Draco, which allows me to pop a card with True Draco. And Masterpiece is going to allow me to banish a card from the grave, which is going to be Apophis, and get rid of the other monster on their board, hopefully shutting down my opponent this turn. My opponent is going to triple attack. They're going to take Masterpiece, which is a bit rough. They're going to attack, but Dragonic Diagram is going to protect the Ignis Heat this turn. So in the end, we just pretty much utterly annihilated my opponent. They got absolutely nowhere with this, and we're just going to go straight to battle. We're going to punch into them a few times, and they can't really do anything from this position. I have plenty of fuel for Masterpiece to keep popping cards. They're going to set a card, and my opponent just scoops it up. It's just too much for them. Alright, we are going second here in this game, which is a bit rough. Again, we really don't want these kind of hands with this deck. Our opponent is on Trickstars with Trickstar Light Stage. This isn't a deck that I really see often. It's really annoying anytime you draw cards, they burn you. And I've seen some crazy Trickstar OTKs. Hopefully we don't get a flat-out OTK'd here. They're going to go ahead and use the Light Stage to grab Licorice. They're going to activate 2 Licorices in hand. alongside their Trickstar Cantina. I've been kind of interested in this deck. It looks cool, but I just don't really know if it's a legit deck. Every time I see it, it kind of doesn't do well. There's only been one time I've seen Trickstars do anything. They're going to go ahead and get Trickstar tokens with their spell, which gives them Trickstar Bloom, which allows them to make me draw a card and then burn me for a bunch of damage, which is really annoying. I'm going to go ahead and summon the Trickstar. I'd love to see what that card is. They're going to get another Bloom here. Before that, they summoned a Narcissus, which is a weird name. I can't tell if this is supposed to be like candy names or like what they're supposed to be. But yeah, Trickstars are weird to me. Anyways, they're going to link off the Blooms into a card with an animation, Trickstar Holly Angel, which is a pretty big and beefy card. Every time they normal is supposed to summon a Trickstar into one of their zones, they can do damage to me, and their stuff can't be destroyed by battle, meaning I'm gonna have to play this kind of carefully. I have to have the Monarchs Erupt to shut them down, but because I'm going second, I have to wait until basically their next turn to activate it. They're gonna do a bunch of damage to me here with their stages and their Licorices. They're gonna gain a bunch of attack with their Holly Angel, which is a bit rough, but it's fine. From here, I'm like, alright, let's go ahead and activate True Draco Heritage, give me something to tribute. And then from there, I'm going to go tribute some of the Majesty Maidens. So if they activate any effects, I can go ahead and get Masterpiece. We're going to set a True King's Return, so if they do let me tutor Masterpiece, I can summon it on their turn and set our Monarchs Erupt. I'm going to keep the rest of my cards in my hand just to kind of front like I had something actually going on. On their draw phase, I'm going to immediately activate the Monarchs Erupt, so all of their effects are now negated, so they can't keep burning me with Trickstars. I'm going to activate the True King's Return just in case. They're going to summon a Cantina, which does not do anything other than give me the ability to tutor. I think I fire off this Ignis Heat a bit too soon, I'm not gonna lie. I should have waited for Masterpiece here. I'm gonna go ahead and tribute summon Ignis Heat, which gives me just a little bit more damage on board. I think the idea was that I can get rid of the True King's Return and then it won't matter, but my opponent does summon a Trickstar Belladonna, which says it's not affected by other cards' effects. Oh, activated effects. So whenever an effect is activated. So I guess it would be like the Masterpiece, not a static ability like the Monarchs Erupt, because I didn't notice until later on that this monster's abilities are just negated. Because Monarchs Erupt, I guess, gets around its negation or protection, which is a bit weird, but whatever. My opponent is then going to link off their other two Trickstar monsters to switch into the Trickstar Black Cat Bat. That's cute. Anyways, it's another slightly bigger Trickstar monster to allow them to switch to a more aggro game plan. They're going to punch into the Majesty Maiden, and I guess they feel like they can't beat Ignis Heat. I'm going to use the True King's Return to bring back the Majesty Maiden, which now does not have an effect thanks to the Monarchs Erupt because it is not tribute summoned. It is fine. From here, I'm going to go ahead and use the Disciples of the True Draco Inheritance, tributing the Majesty Maiden and my True Draco's Return to bring out Masterpiece. I'm going to try and pop their back row. They're going to protect it with their Trickstar Festival, which gave them some tokens earlier. I'm going to use Masterpiece here. Now I'm noticing that I can just destroy the Holly because it's negated. We're going to pop the Holly. We're going to use True Draco Heritage to draw 2 cards. We're going to use our Disciples of the True Draco to shuffle 3 back into our deck, draw a card, go into the Draconic Diagram, pop the Pot of Desires because I don't want to banish more of my cards, grab a Dynamite Knight, tribute summon with the other continuous spell that I have for Dynamite Knight, and just do a bunch of damage. This is a great showcase of just how aggro the deck can be once it gets all of its pieces in place. You just really need one good Floodgate Masterpiece and the diagram, and the rest is just pretty easy. My opponent's going to try to Book of Eclipse me. I'm going to go ahead and just Apophis this because I just don't want to deal with it. No thank you. I don't want my stuff flipped face down. They're going to summon the Trickstar Cantina, I guess to try to out themselves. I'm going to go and use Masterpiece to pop it because I decide when this game is over. And because I know all of my fans at home really want to see it, I'm going to end the game in style before I attack. I activate the diagram first to pop the Apophis. And then we of course get the heads, Cup of Ace, draw 2, and attack for game. Like I always do. I've never failed Cup of Ace. What are you talking about? Anyways, that was a style win. Sorry, I just had to show that one off. Alright, getting into our next game here. Our opponent has chosen to go second. That's not suspicious at all, right? We have an absolutely awful hand. We have Skill Drain, which is kind of good. Pot of Desires, which is really risky because if we lose both of our masterpieces, we're basically dead in the water. How do I know that? Maybe it happened against Duel, I don't want to talk about it. And a Cup of Ace, which is another really risky card draw card. It is fine. I'm going to go ahead and activate Pot of Desires here, hoping they don't Ash this. They don't. We lose a Dynamite Knight, a Monarch's Erupt, and a Summon Limit, which is kind of rough, but we do lose, more importantly, both of our Diagrams, which is kind of one of the core cards of the deck. Bit of a yikes. I'm going to go use Cup of Ace to try to draw into something here. We do hit the Cup of Ace, because I'm just that good at the card game. We draw into another Cup of Ace. And an Apophis. I'm not going to hit. I'm not going to miss, though, right? I never miss. I don't want to talk about it. My opponent draws 2 cards. From here, I'm like, alright, what do? I need to fake like I have something important. If they Feather Duster, I'm just dead. So I go ahead and set Apophis, Power Sink Stone, and the Skill Drain. The idea here is that if I use Power Sink Stone, they might go into the battle phase, which is when Sandkin Summoning stops working. This utterly annoying field spell card allows them to protect all of their Tenpai monsters during the main phase 1, which allows them to sneak in all their monsters and try to go for their battle phase OTK. From here, I'm going to go ahead and Apophis this. I do not want them getting the search off. I just don't want this card. And I'm going to go ahead and chain the Power Sink Stone. Its effects don't activate unless the card itself is activated. They're going to go ahead and use Max Z here so they don't get their effects just locked out by Power Sink Stone. I'm going to put Apophis in defense just out of habit. I'm going to negate their Sandkin Summoning. They're going to normal summon Chandra and go straight to the battle phase, which is kind of what I wanted them to do. I'm going to go ahead and activate Skill Drain, negating their effects so they cannot get their Synchro Summons and all that other nonsense off. Basically, I'm turning off their ability to do anything with their deck, really. We, yet again, do not draw anything useful. I'm going to go ahead and put Apophis in attack, go ahead and attack into the Chandra, get that nonsense out of here, and then I'm just going to set the friggin' pass. If they Harpies Feather Dust me, I'm dead anyway, so I might as well just go all in on it. We do get a lose 1 turn, which is kind of nice. I'm going to go ahead and activate True Draco Apocalypse. Basically, the idea behind this is that if they try to go into one of their bigger monsters, I can flip the True King's Return, and then during the battle phase, I can pop True King's Return to reduce their attack, and then potentially destroy one of their other monsters, which is why I go ahead and activate the True King's Return. They're going to go ahead and use the Sandkin Summoning to get a Tenpai Dragon monster, which sucks, but whatever. They're going to go ahead and grab a Chandra, discarding an Effect Veiler because it does nothing right now. They're going to go ahead and summon Genroku, and then they're going to special summon Chandra. And then from there, my opponent is going to do the Bident play. And then they're going to go straight into battle. And I'm glad that they tried to attack with this thing first, because it allows me to still do what I wanted, which is to go ahead and do my True Draco nonsense. Because in the main phase 1, their Sandkin Summoning protects their cards, but not in the battle phase. They're going to go ahead and Ghost Ogre my True Draco Apocalypse before I can do anything with it. They do pop it, though, however, which does activate its other effect, which lets me destroy their Bident Dragon. And from here, my opponent just scoops it up. Too many monster effect negates for the Tenpai player to deal with. Alright, folks, we're getting into our last game of the session, and yet again, my opponent, very suspiciously, is going second. We are back in the Duelist Cup, and this hand is pretty solid. It's not the best. We really need this Cup of Ace to go off and, you know, draw me some cards. And it does. And because I'm pretty sure we're going into Tenpai, I'm really glad we draw the Skill Drain. I'm going to go ahead and use the Disciples to Tribute Summon to Dynamite, and then I'm just going to set 2 returns and a Skill Drain. The idea here is that I can use 1 return to Tribute Summon Dynamite Knight on their turn, so I can pop one of their cards. We're going to go ahead and activate Skill Drain. I do not want their nonsense going off here. They're going to use Genroku's effect to tribute it to get around my Skill Drain. I'm going to go ahead and use Dynamite Knight to try to get a search off. My opponent is going to Forbidden Droplet this. I'm going to activate a True King's Return just to have it face up on the field. They're going to negate my Dynamite Knight's effects and reduce its attack so they can beat over it in the battle phase, which is fine. They're going to go ahead and activate Chandra here. I'm going to go ahead and use True King's Return. The idea here is that I want to tribute the other return to pop their tuner, because I do not want them getting into their bigger dragons. So they're going to go ahead and use Hydra to destroy my Dynamite Knight. On main phase 2, though, they set a card. I'm going to go ahead and use this opportunity to bring back the Dynamite Knight, so I can go ahead and attack into them with it on my turn. We draw into the diagram, which is pretty freaking powerful here. I'm going to go ahead and use the diagram's effect. Trying to pop one of my cards. They're going to have last card Ash Blossom to deny my search, but this does allow me to activate Dynamite Knight. I'm doing this to bait whatever this is, and of course, I bait them perfectly. My opponent forgets I'm under skill drain, and my cards cannot use their effects under skill drain. So, I have my attack reduced, so I can't do that much damage, but I do still get to rip into my opponent's stupid Tenpai deck with True Draco. And from here, my opponent doesn't have that many life points left, and I just have an oppressive board state. My opponent is going to Heavy Storm my spells and traps away as a last-minute middle finger before they scoop it on up. And in one session, we go 3-0 against Tenpai. And with those games out of the way, our time with True Draco, for now at least, comes to a close. And I'm not gonna lie, folks, I was super surprised with how well this deck did in the current meta game. True Draco is really, really good against Tenpai. I don't know how else to say it. Maybe it's because of the multiple monster effect floodgates we have, like lose one turn, Apophis, the Monarchs Erupt, and Skill Drain. Maybe it's just the fact that True Draco itself has some pretty solid legs to stand on, especially behind a boss monster like Masterpiece. I don't know what to tell you. Right now, this deck is fantastic, and what makes it even cooler is that it's relatively cheap. The only UR in the deck is our 2 Masterpieces. Everything else is an SR, which I know some newer players might struggle to get their hands on, but most people should very easily be able to get their hands on the UR dust amount required for this deck. And even if you can't, you can take out some of the other cards in the deck that don't really fit, like Summon Limit and Power Sing Stone can just be 2 other continuous traps if need be. You don't need Undead Nightmares as kind of a useful card. But yeah, True Draco did fantastic, and I am more than happy to showcase this deck. And in my opinion, this deck will return if the Go Second meta continues, for sure. So thank you for tuning in, folks. I've been the Ghost with Knife. This has been True Draco. Now do me a favor and get the hell out of here.